of satisfaction derived from the consumption of a certain goods and services is known as dash. A. Utility. B. Production. C. Durability. D. Entrepreneurship. Question number 5. An example of durable goods is dash. A. Snacks. B. Iron. C. Bread. D. Fuel. Now let's answer them one after the other. The first question that says the production is not complete until the goods reaches the final consumer. Therefore, the correct answer for that one is B. Production is not complete until the goods reaches the final consumer. Number 2, the reward for entrepreneurship is profit, which is C. Option C is the correct answer. The question number 3 that says the following are the types of production except A. Primary production, B. Secondary production, C. Nursery production, and that is the answer. Option C is the answer. Nursery production is not part of the types of production. We only have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Question number 4. The amount of satisfaction derived from the consumption of a certain goods and services is known as utility, which gives us option number A as the correct answer. Utility is the amount of satisfaction we derive from the consumption of a particular goods or services. And the last question that says an example of durable goods is dash. An example of durable goods that we have here is not A, which is snacks. No. The correct answer is iron. Iron is the durable goods that can satisfy our desire and our wants immediately, but can also last for years if well managed. That is the correct answer. The topic we are considering now is business organization. A business can be organized in one of several ways. The form its owners choose will affect the company's and owners' legal liability and income tax treatment. A has most of the common options of business organizations and their defining characteristics. The first one we have here is sole proprietorship. Then we have partnership. We also have a private limited company, and we have public limited companies. There are so many other ways business can be started that form of businesses, but these are the major and most common ones that we have in our environment. Let's take it one after the other. Sole proprietorship. The vast majority of business start as sole proprietorship. So many businesses that we have all around today, they started in a small way as sole proprietorship. And sole proprietorship is a form of business owned by one person. Usually the individual who has the day-to-day responsibility of running the business. It's a form of business that is organized by one person, that one person will be the one in charge of the day-to-day activities. Sole proprietorship sources its capital from his personal savings, from contribution from friends and families, and personal loans. Then sole proprietorship owns all the assets of the business and the profits generated by the business. Then they also assume complete responsibility of all its liability or debt. Anything that happens with the business, anything that happens in the business, in the process of business activities, whether gain or debt or liability, will be taken care of by the owner. That is the major characteristics of sole proprietorship. In the eyes of the law and the public, the owner of the business and the business, they are the same. There is no difference between the two of them. This is the simplest form of business to start because of so many simple activities that is going on and way of operation. It is the least regulated form of organization out of all other small businesses and form of business organizations that we have. Now let's see some of the advantages of sole proprietorship. The first one we have is it is easy and least expensive for the owner to organize. It is easy to organize in such a way that it is not so difficult The other advantages that we have, it is quick and easy in the decision making. The owner do not need to consult anybody before he can make any decision, because the owner is the one carrying out day-to-day activities. He has no partner, he's the only one going about the business, so he can take decision as he wish and as he think it will be beneficial to the business. The other one advantage is that the ownership of the business owns all the profits. All the profit that will come from the business is owned by the owner, because he is the only one that is running the business without the consultation of any other person. We also have the other advantages that the business is easy to dissolve if desired. The owner can decide at any point in time to dissolve the business, because if any problem arises, if any challenges come up that is greater than the capacity of the owner, he can decide to do what? To dissolve the business and to stop it at a particular point in time. The other advantages that I have here is that it is subject to fewer regulations. There is no rules and regulations that will be binding much more and inconveniencing the business owner, because he's the one that takes decision, will be the one to set the rules. So the rules is likely and very possible to be convenient for the owner to go on how to go about the business, on how he believes he can really do the business to make it a profitable one. Those are the major advantages that we have for the sole proprietorship. Now let's look at disadvantages. As it has its own advantages, there are some disadvantages as well. The first one I have here, it has unlimited liability and are legally responsible for all the debts against the business. Anything that happens in the business that is not palatable to the business, that is somehow in form of debt or in form of inconveniences, it is the owner that will bear all the risk. So the extent to which the owner will bear the risk is not limited to anything but the business. That is the unlimited liability of the sole proprietorship. Another one is that the difficulty of raising capital. This is one-man business. It's not the business that he will have access to capitals from other sources, except for his personal saving and the little amount of loan he will be able to secure, whether from the bank or any other financial institution. So the difficulty of raising capital is one of the major disadvantages of sole proprietorship. They always encounter a kind of insufficient fund because the source of capital is somehow limited. The other disadvantage is that it has limited lifespan. Limited lifespan in the sense that if the owner of the business ceases to exist today, the business will die with the owner. If the owner of the business, even if the owner of the business has been carrying along the family to run the business, there is little to which the family can do after the death of the owner. So once the owner of the business is dead, the possibility of the business also to run now is very, very high. So it's another disadvantage of sole proprietorship. And the other one I have here, which is the most daunting disadvantage of sole proprietorship, is the aspect of that unlimited liability. If the business of the sole proprietorship has gone to the extent that it goes into a bankrupt or one bigger liability, the owner of the business is in big trouble, and the business can cause a major problem to the life of the owner, because the owner and the business, they are the same. They are not separate entities. So the damage at which the business can cause the owner of the business is very great. The other form of business that we have is partnership. Partnership is a form of business owned and managed by two or more people. It is the form of business that is organized and established between 2 persons to 20 persons. The minimum number of people that can start partnership is 2, while the maximum is 20. So that one is different from sole proprietorship because it involves at least 2 persons and at most 20 persons. Now, There should be some legal agreements that will guide the operation of this business. There should be some agreements between the partners that are involved in this business on how to run the business. Now let's look at the agreements one after the other. The partners at the beginning of the business, they need to agree on how the decisions of the business will be made, how they are going to make the decisions, what are going to be the contributions of each partner to the business. They need to agree on this. 2, they need to agree on how the profits of the business will be shared among themselves. How are they going to share it, on what ratios? What is going to be the ratio between the business? If there are 2 people, is it going to be 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30? It depends on the agreement and the participation of each of the partners. The other agreement that they need to make is that how much capital will each of the partners contribute to the business? When they are starting the business, definitely they need capital. How much of the capital will each of the partners will contribute? That is another major agreement that must be reached before the business continues. The other agreement is the participation of each partner. All of them cannot be involved in a particular activities at the same time. They need to share it. Oh, this one will be operating on this aspect, the other one will be operating on the other aspect. What are going to be the participation of each of them? There are some that will be active in the participation of the business, and there are some that they will be less active in the participation of the business. They need to reach the agreement on how each partner will be participating in the business. Another major agreement that must be reached on how disputes will be resolved. When there are conflicts of ideas on how to progress in the business, when there are series of ideas that are contradicting on how to move on the business, whether when they want to take one decision or the other, they need to agree on how to deal with this issue. If not, it can lead to the end of the business. It can lead to a great dispute, a great conflict that will make